Why, hello there, good people of the earth. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy, and this is actually the second video in my Practical Perspective series. Just to make it confusing, I started with video number 0, and that's where I basically tell you how it's like the prerequisite video, where I basically say you should just draw shapes, all sorts of shapes, and I'll put a link to that below, but you should watch that before this because it's going to directly lead up to this. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about drawing small household items. And since I can't draw every small household item there has ever been in existence, I've chosen 3 that become progressively more difficult to draw. And so it's a good little progression to start practicing. So yeah, let's get started. So if you did see the Practical Perspective 0 video, you'll have probably drawn a lot of boxes that look like this. Alright. So the first item we're going to draw is very basic, and it'll directly correlate to what you were practicing, and that's just a tissue box. But it does have a couple little things that make it so that it's a little more interesting than just drawing a basic box. So you've drawn pages and pages of these. You can draw them from all sorts of angles and stuff like that. And then, so what are we going to do to make it a tissue box? Well, the basic thing that I was learning about, which is for constructing all sorts of items, but we're sticking with small household items for now, is that you're going to take your basic shape and you're going to build and manipulate it, usually. So here to make a tissue box, you just need a little slit where the thing goes in. I like to put a little, that little round area too. And then you're going to think about, okay, this is coming up, but do the tissues go straight up like that? No, that doesn't seem right. So we can use the straight up to get an idea, and then we're going to all go to the same vanishing point in this direction, so this one's a little less. And then we're going to say, okay, but actually it flares out a bit, so let's flare it out. Okay, and then it's also not straight like a piece of cardboard, so we're also going to add a little curve like that. And you can just add these colored lines like that. And then you kind of got your little tissue box. So let's do that real quick with these two. Oops, I'm not sitting in the best position for this with my tablet. Okay, that's going to go, so you just divided this into half, write a line right across. You know, I can just do it flare out in my head and even do it like that if I want to skip the construction steps. But I suggest doing the construction steps at first because it's a great way to get a feel for how to do these kind of things. So, and you can even do one across the middle to get the exact center. You could even divide that again in half, and that again in half. And you say, alright, you can do it this way too. Half, 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 to get it exactly right if you want to for practice. That's a good idea. So now from the above view, it's a little tricky, but let's just keep with the same thing. So we're going to do one up from there, one going straight up from there. I think I bent it a little bit. And then going straight back. And then add the curve. So I'll go ahead and make this layer a little lighter. And then I can go over it. Okay, so then I have like that. And I made it go a little farther because I want it flaring out. Anyway, so I think that's a great object to start with, and you can decorate your tissue box a little, add a little line down there, add I don't know, that's pretty much it. What else do tissue boxes have? Not too much. Alright, so that's the first thing we're going to draw, and then the second thing, the next more advanced, is going to be an old style telephone. So let's go ahead and start with a fresh layer to do that. So an old style telephone is going to start off with a box. Pretty much a square box. It's not really I don't think it's necessary. That's where you get a feel for things. Your box might be, the first one I did, it was too long. And then if it's too high, you'll be able to tell. So you start with the box, and you can do the line through if you want to, kind of like that. But see, that's what I did at first, and now I've drawn this enough. I do 20 drawings of each. So 20 tissue boxes, 20 old telephones, and 20 lamps, which will be the third one we do. And that's how I like to practice, and I'll do other stuff too, but I make sure to draw the same thing 20 times in order to really ingrain it and really explore it from different angles. I don't draw it always the same angle. So anyway, so let's cut this guy out right here. So we're going to cut it here and do the same thing on this side, and I'm kind of estimating right here across like that, you know. I'm also keeping it off like that. So right now what I've done is I've cut out that little triangle section. And I think you can already see how this is starting to look like an old style telephone. And then, well, let's find the center of that new area we've created in the same way that we find the center of any other box or any other shape. We just find the center of this line, connect. All right, and then we can make a circle kind of thing. And one thing to think about is, or one thing that I learned is that you don't want to do the circle and then put this down like that. That would be wrong, because then it's going to look like it's too much in this direction, or it's like going into the form. So, oops, sorry, I thought I could just undo, but let's just erase it out then. What's really going to happen is that it's going to pop out. So, can you close that? So you want this circle to be on top. So, like, let's say, since this is at an angle like this, you're gonna, these lines, like if something's coming off of it, it's gonna follow this same angle like that. Okay, and so it's the same thing here. So two lines like this, and it's very shallow. I'm gonna exaggerate it here just to give a better idea, or else you won't be able to tell. I'm not using that small a brush. But see, if I put two lines out like this, and then this is gonna be like that. Then I draw another circle, and it's sticking out off the surface. And you could even do another one inside and cut it out like that kind of thing. I know this looks very cartoony or ridiculous, and I didn't leave enough space for little dialers. This is one of those ones where you're like, you know, you do the ding. Anyways, so I think you know the old style telephones. So then the other, okay, so we made this part, and like, you know, you'll just kind of have to practice to get a feel for it. Like, that's not quite right, but anyways, that's something you guys can practice on your own. So let's construct the phone sitting on top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to continue constructing off of it, and this is what I talked about in my practical perspective number 0 thing, is how to take shapes and just kind of build off of them and mess around with it. So this comes off, and it kind of is going to go off like this, and I just like to do a round shape. Those are the easiest because there's no perspective to think about, except for here. Look, there is a perspective. This and this are converging. They're getting smaller subtly, but those subtleties are really important, especially like, okay, if you made them exactly the same size on this, there's not that much like perspective, so it's not going to notice. But if you made this one slightly bigger than this, even if it's slight, it's going to look off. You know what I'm saying? Because we just recognize those things because we're so used to seeing things in the correct perspective. And so what I would do is now just going to take this and cut it in half, because it's that kind of shape. So so if it's in more of a perspective, you cut it in half, something like that, you see. And this is the bottom plane. So you can't really see that, but I like to do it anyways because I like to think through it to really get a feel for the shape. And then on this side, so let's say it's like that, something like, not quite, but we're getting close. And then you kind of just connect these, you know. And then, okay, let's erase some of these construction lines out. Alright. They shouldn't be seen. Alright, well, I used a really hard eraser, so it's kind of looks awkward. But anyways, I think you get the general idea. And then from there, you can continue to build details if you wanted to. One little thing to do is what's holding the thing up. So that can be thought of as a box like this. Make this a little smaller. And then it's got a cutout. So what I did was I made a box like this on top of the thing. Then I cut out this piece, I just connected these across. Well, it doesn't look very good, but I think you get the idea. You know what I mean? So anyways, so then I would erase this out. Okay. Something like that. And it's important for even little things like that to do everything in perspective. You can add like some details. I don't know. Let's say there's like a little knob thing on top of there, and just kind of build it out. There's that little shape thing like that, and then actually it would be better to do it over here because then you could practice. Okay, how is it going to turn? How is it going to turn on the form? Something like that to show that there's. Anyways, so and then you got a wire coming out. So that's the second thing you're gonna practice drawing, or you can practice drawing, and then obviously you do it from all sorts of angles. So here I've exaggerated. Look, then the same thing. 2 dots here, 2 dots here. That, that, guy in the middle. Then you can start to do it without the construction lines as much. Now I got a quick. Let's do one more. And that's how I think a good progression to do. First off, do it with all the construction lines. Let's do one that's oh, here's another type of phone you could draw. Okay, so now let's do a newer style phone. Pretty similar shape, but a couple differences. So, oops. All right. So it's going to be a little taller and a little less square, a little more tall. Okay, and then cut it out like this, same kind of shape. But here we're going to have the phone connect like that. Actually, usually they're more square on these. Okay, and then you have the number pad somewhere like this. Okay. And then they're not all the way thick, so it's kind of a thinner piece. So cut that out. And let's see here, I'm going to want that to be flat. And then there's a little piece that goes through to hold it up, kind of thing like that, a triangular piece. So this is like a more new style phone. Okay, and you can just go ahead and Google all sorts of reference images, but then construct them. I would say don't just draw. You can draw the reference image for once or twice or something, but then construct it from different angles. Since you know the shape now, then you can mess around and try to get it right from all the different angles, from above and below. So let's do. All right, let's go on and do the lamp now. Now the lamp is the most difficult because it combines a few shapes, and also because it's tall. So when something is taller, you're going to want to keep in mind the horizon line. So if you notice, I didn't really draw the horizon line. I just have them in my mind. So in this one, let's go ahead and draw the horizon line. And I'm going to first construct this, what's it called? Like just using cones and stuff. I was trying to do it with boxes, and I know you can do it that way, but honestly I found that that's really tedious and it doesn't feel as good. So I ended up forgetting that style. So look, so now we've got this lampshade right here, and I'll go ahead and show you an example of what I mean. So this is a lampshade, and the horizon line is important because let's say there's one lampshade here and one lampshade there, but it's the same horizon line. This lampshade, now that we've constructed it, we can see through, but that's not what you can see when you're actually doing, in real life. You can't see through the lampshade if it's not like paper thin. So which of these construction lines do you want to erase? Well, if you're above the horizon line, then all the lines are going to go like this. If you're below it, all the lines are going to go like this. That kind of curve versus that kind of curve. So here, we're going to want to erase this one, and we're going to want to erase this one. And that's actually what the lampshade is going to look like. And if you want to, actually a good exercise is to do contour lines. So then they're going to flatten out right here with the horizon line. It's going to be a straight line too, and then it's going to slowly start to curve this way versus that way on the top. So you can see that subtle change. Then on this one's below the horizon line. So we actually want to keep this because we can see down inside if we're standing above the lamp. But we're going to want to erase this one. Oh, so I guess I shouldn't say that all the lines are curving like this or like that, because here this one is curving like that. But the general feel if you don't see the top of something, most of the lines, like if someone's wearing a belt and he's below the horizon line, the belt is going to look like this. If you're standing above the horizon, if he's standing like you're below him, the belt's going to be like this. And so in that case, all the lines are like that because you cannot see the back part. But if he was see-through or if the belt was just floating in the air, then you would see that, obviously. So, okay, so now that you've understood that, let's go ahead and construct the lamp. Well, actually, why don't we just finish up this one? Because it's not really... well, first off, there's lots of different lamps. So that's one of the fun things. You can do a square lamp, you know. You can have it go like that. And you want the bottom one to be bigger. Basically, like you see more of the bottom plane than the top. See how this one's about that thin and this one's that. So I just kind of estimate these things, and then I like to do that because I want to get a more intuitive feel for perspective, because I'm not the type of person who's very methodical, wants to draw a bunch of lines going back into the distant horizon and stuff like that. I mean, that method will work and will yield you more accurate results, I suppose, but I think it also takes away a little bit of the life of the drawing. You know, it's like I like to do my perspective almost gesturally, and also like I like to draw through so I can see where the light bulb would be. Even like, okay, let's say, how would these connect? Something like that. And so I'm really, oh, and this one's here. I'm really trying to understand the like even maybe this one goes into the thing and it comes all the way down to here, you know. I'm really trying to understand how shapes work and how they blend together and all that good stuff, rather than come up with a finished work. I mean, there's difference between practicing and and producing something. You know, if I'm producing something, I might not need to bother with those. I might for the underlying thing. I think it'll give a stronger feel. So like what I like to do with the lamp is draw it like that, and then kind of, okay, so let's draw this lamp looking from above a little bit. And so now I've done all these lines. Okay, I'm thinking about it. This is curving down like this. And then let's give it one of these. I want to keep it straight on the center axis. So maybe like that. You know, what if it's like, what if we got another shape like this for the bottom? Alright, what if I'm looking at it more straight on? Then let's, oh, see, this looks a little flat to me. I'm gonna widen it up a little bit like that. Looks a little better. Alright, this one looks a little flat too now, you know? Oh, and I didn't do the back one. I'm really messing around trying to get a feel for it, and that's been really helping me a lot. And so like I might think here, okay, well there's this and there's this little thing hanging out. How long far does it hang? Alright, that sounds cool. It could hang that far maybe. Maybe it'll do a lampshade like this. Okay, and let's have the horizon line be around here, so you don't see the top. I mean, you don't see the backside on that. And then come down like that. That lamp. And then with a form like this, it's more of an organic type form, so it's not as constructed, but there's still that feeling. Maybe I'll put a little, I know that there's a little round stand like that. You know, I'm trying to think about that kind of stuff. And then I can get rid of this and see, alright, did that look about right? Well, not quite, you know. This is, okay, that's above, alright. And so that's it. I think the lamps are really good one to practice on once you've got the basics, like a tissue box and the phone and stuff, because you can really try it, like do a lot of different stuff with the lamp. The stand can be, one stand that I like to do is these kind of ones that go like this maybe, and like, you know, like they're kind of something like that, and then it's even on a thing like this. So I didn't do this one in perspective. Let's do that real quick. So maybe it's like, starts off on a stand like this. And I know like this line isn't perfect, but I don't know, for me that doesn't. Alright, so these ones you can't really see what's going on. I didn't do it from a very interesting view. Like if it was more of a 3/4 view, that would be better, because then I could really like build it out. And then I'm like, okay, well now it's getting close. Let's say my eye level's here, so this is going to be pretty thin. And then here, right here, let's say it stops at eye level. That means that this is going to be an exact straight line. I'm not going to see the below or above. So that means that this one looks like it's a little, it's too, and then here like this. So now this one's going to curve up a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and, why don't we build it without the lampshade? And we can put the lampshade on top kind of thing. Alright, so I'll go ahead and stop, and then I might do one. I'll go ahead and stop here, because I think you get an idea of how this exercise can help you. And you can draw, obviously, all sorts of household items. Oh, there was one more thing I'm going to do. Boop, 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 bonus round, whatever. Alright, that was pretty lame. But, and then the next thing is, once you've gotten some household items under your belt, you're feeling pretty good about it. Now, the next thing to do is to draw it on a tabletop, on a surface. And don't bother drawing the table. I mean, you can if you want, obviously, but I'm going to make I decided to leave that for the large household items studies that I'm going to do, which is going to be like furniture and appliances and tables, anything bigger than a chair, basically. So I just leave it flat like that. In fact, I usually don't even draw this thickness. Okay, let's just leave it. Anyways, it doesn't matter too much. And one thing that I like to do is actually offset I do it on from a 1 point perspective, so these are both going back to the same horizon line somewhere, and that's something you should keep in mind. You don't have to draw. I like to keep the horizon line in mind. If you want to, you can draw it, but it's about right there, just to give you guys an idea. And you see how this one and this one aren't at the exact same angle? Because I kind of so that means the horizon line is more off to this side. And I like that. I don't know, it just feels more feels so stiff when you do it right in the middle. So, okay, so the next thing I do is, one thing I had a big problem with is getting all the things to be the right size compared to each other, so that the lamp isn't we're not drawing a lamp like this, and then the tissue box is next to it that's big. That's crazy. It doesn't look right. So how do you get them to be kind of the right size? And I figured out a super simple solution to this. Just draw a basic circle. That's going to be the lamp. Let's put our telephone here. Let's get our tissue box right here in front of it a little bit. And we'll put a mug on the table. And usually I draw a computer and stuff too. So, okay, well, let's say the keyboard's right here. Computer and keyboard, super easy. So, that's it, basically. Okay, so let's go ahead and build out this desk. So the mug, we haven't done the mug, but that's super simple, just like that. Boom, done with the mug. Then we can do the lamp, and we're going to try to keep it more or less within. Okay, so I'm not going to do the construction lines this time. I'm just going to try to draw it out like I'm doing a comic book panel or whatever, and I don't want to bother drawing every little detail. I mean, this is just in the background, let's say, so it's not that important. It just has to look about right. Okay. This one, so for this, let's have it pointing towards us a bit like that. And how do you do it when they're not all it's easy when everything is, or easier when everything is going back to this 1 point, And what if this one? So what I do is I just basically choose an angle. I draw it out, and then so these two have to converge on the horizon line, and then these two have to converge on the horizon line somewhere, and that's pretty much it. Just kind of make sure those two things work, and that'll get you a decent result. And also just kind of get a feel for it. Really, that's what I'm learning is the biggest thing, is just to get a feel for this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and actually lighten it up and put it on a new layer, because I made it really dark by going over it. When I work on my sketchbook, I like to keep, do a light color for the first thing. Use these Eno pencils, and I use a light color for the first one. Oh, and I forgot the tissue box is in front of it. So let's go back to this layer, and let's do the tissue box kind of perpendicular to the desk, make our lives a little easier. I think I made that a little too big. Um, you know what? No, let's not, because that looks awkward. Let's make it a little bit off like that. And see, now look at this. Right there, that's wrong, because that would mean the tissue box is going into this, into, it's like going through that object. So that's why I like to start off with the bottom plane, how it attach, where it's touching the table. So now I moved it over, so it's very close. It's almost touching, but it's not, and it's falling off the table. That's fine. I mean, it's hanging off the table a little bit. Maybe this guy's not a clean freak. He's not trying. He's got his tissue box hanging off a bit. Whatever. Not a crime. Okay, now we can go back to here, and I know I've got to erase this little corner because that's going to be overlapped. It's hanging off, that's fine, cool. Something like that. And then we got these two telephone ears. So we can make the mouse, and that's pretty much it. This one looks a little stiff. Oh, because I didn't. Looks a little off, so then I come back. Maybe he's got some papers. What is this? Oh yeah, the mug. Keyboard. And then you can do it. Okay, so keyboards like that. And then that's pretty much it. Here's a little bonus tip I like to do if you don't know how to do the shiny screen. You just color it all black and leave one line right there. Boom, it's shiny. If you want to make it super shiny, bust in an extra line. That is a nice clean monitor. Alright, cool. So I think that's it. I hope this video has been helpful. If it is, then like it to let me know. I don't usually ask people to like things, but let's give it a try and see if I get more likes. Alright, that's it. Peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone.